Hello everyone. My name is Elise. Welcome to my channel. I hope you're all doing so good today. We are doing the ever famous tag video, the Mid-Year Book Freakout Tag. I really love doing this tag. I think it's such a fun one, as do most other booktubers as well. And I love superlatives. I just love superlatives. I like doing them at the end of the year too, and I normally do. It's such a fun way to check in about your reading. For me to think about like maybe books that aren't my absolute favorites of the year, but they had such standout pieces in other ways, whether that's the character work or it had like a ton of emotional resonance for me. Sometimes you're really looking for books to fit those niches. So I appreciate hearing everyone's recommendations and looking through my own thoughts. So I have, I think, everything laid out. If you see me looking at my laptop, and now I'm a little bit glowy from it as well, that's what I am looking at. The creators of this tag are Earl Books and Chami. I'll have them linked down below, although I'm not sure if they're still currently making content. I know at least one of them is not. And I'll also have all of the questions down below as well. That way, if you want to answer them yourself, you absolutely can, and I would love to know what your answers are for these questions as well. The first one, we always start off with a bang, and that is your favorite book of the year. This is why I make this video after my best books of the year so far video, because I cannot believe that people would throw out their favorite book before filming that video. It's like, oh my gosh, you're just like blowing all of the surprise for your next video. So I always wait. So you've already seen what my favorite book of the year is, and that is Margo's Got Money Troubles by Rufi Thorpe. This book is so good. It's so good. I love it. It is my darling. I do think it was aided by how amazing the audiobook is, which is read by Elle Fanning, who's going to be playing the titular character of Margo in the Apple TV series. I cannot wait to watch it. But this is such a voicey, magnetic, messy character to follow, and I love that type of vibe in a main character. I am a character reader. Other things about the book can fall short for me, but if the character work is spot on, I'm in all the way. And they don't have to be likable, they just need to be interesting. And this character is so complex. I loved to be in her head. I loved to kind of have this really wacky coming of age tale with her that had so much emotional resonance. I'm very impressed on how much this author was able to fit into this book. Whew, man, did she pack a lot of themes into this book. But essentially, if you haven't heard about this book before, we are following Margo, who has had a relationship with one of her professors at her community college that she's attending and gets pregnant. She decides that it's the right thing to do to have the baby, even though everyone else around her is telling her not to have the baby. And she quickly realizes that she can't financially support herself or the baby. At the time, her father has re-entered into her life, and her father mentions OnlyFans. It's the beginning of OnlyFans, and she decides that this might be a viable career path for her so she can be able to take care of the baby most of the time and make enough money to support them and their lives. Such a good cast of characters. Truly one of the best casts of characters I've ever seen, and I just loved it. If you haven't read it yet, please take a risk and read it. It's so good. So that's my best book of the year so far. The second question is best sequel you've read in 2025. This one, it was sort of an embarrassment of riches for me because I have read a number of sequels and I've liked basically all of them, but the ones that definitely stand apart are the Wolf Den trilogy. So I finished the last two books in the trilogy this year. That is The House with the Golden Door is the second book, and The Temple of Fortuna is the third book, both by Elodie Harper, published by Union Square. It just tore my heart out in such a good way. This is some of the best setting description writing that I've ever experienced. It takes place in Pompeii, obviously before Vesuvius erupts, and we're following our main character Amara, who's been sold into slavery and is currently working at the Wolf Den, which is a brothel in Pompeii. Another book where we get a really strong cast of characters, this time all female, and it's all of the she-wolves that work at the Wolf Den. And the series is just so good. I really want more people to read it. I think it has a pretty big readership in the UK, but I don't think it has as big of one in the United States or other places globally. So if you haven't read this and you really like historical fiction that has strong female character, great immersive setting, and you can handle some content warnings, then this is such a good book for you to read. While there are a lot of content warnings because she's sold into slavery and she does work at a brothel, so there's going to be a lot of things around sexual assault and things of that nature, it really only puts as much on the page as it needs to, in my opinion. It doesn't feel like overkill, and it didn't put me in like a horrible state of mind, but there are content warnings, so definitely look those up. But yeah, this series is so dear to my heart. It made me cry, and I loved it. I loved it. Quick shout out to the other sequels that I read this year, just because they were all really good, are A Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett. I read both of those books this year. This is a mystery fantasy series that is a Sherlock and Watson-esque mystery with a really interesting and elaborate fantasy world. Again, really strong characters. I think that's the highlight of this book, but also really well crafted mysteries. So thoroughly enjoyed that one. I read the third book in I Never Remember This series. I read Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. What is that series called? I can't remember what that series is called, but I read that one. I enjoyed it. It's not as good as the other two, I agree, but I didn't hate it as much as other people seem to have hated it. And then I also read Sunrise Over the Reaping by Suzanne Collins, the prequel to the Hunger Games trilogy, and enjoyed that one as well. Wolfden trilogy definitely takes the cake, those two books, but the other ones were all enjoyable. Third question is new release you haven't read yet but want to. There's so many. There's so many, honestly, but I picked a few that I feel particularly passionate about. First one is The National Telepathy by Roque Larraquy, translated by Frank Wynn. This one's by Charco Press. I really want to get to this one. The premise is so intriguing. It's this like ethnographic theme park that gets created, feels very dystopic. And one of the exhibits at the theme park is this sloth that has magical powers, and it can cause you to have like very strange, erotically charged thoughts towards other people, and it kind of makes you go insane a little bit, I think. So that sounds so bonkers, and I feel like I just have to read it. So I'm hoping to get to that one soon. And then Mending Bodies by Hon Lai Chu, translated by Jacqueline Leung. This one's by Two Lines Press. Again, one that has such an interesting premise. It's also kind of sci-fi dystopian vibes, which I do think I'm just in that headspace right now, which tracks. This one is a future society in which the government has incentivized conjoining with your spouse. So like actually being sewn together. And what? Like what? I have to know why. I have to know what's going on. So I really want to read that one. And that one I am going to definitely be reading this year. It's going to be coming out in a video probably in August is what I'm thinking. So fingers crossed. Whenever I promise videos, I never follow through. So honestly, don't trust a word I say. Next one I really want to get to is a short story collection, The Words of Dr. L and Other Stories by Karen E. Bender. I'm in a short story kick again, and I'm not going to complain. I had like a year where I was really struggling to get through short story collections, and I'm back in my bag, baby, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. So I want to get to this one. And then lastly, I want to get to School of Shards by Marina and Sergey Dyachenko. This is the third and final book in the Vita Nostra series, which I really love. They're so fascinating. They're so weird, like everyone says, but captivating, very captivating. And I gotta know how it ends. I absolutely have to know how it ends. So I will be picking that one up as well, hopefully soon. Next question, number 4, is most anticipated release for the second half of the year. Ooh. Also a lot of them. I do 3 anticipated release videos a year. I do them in like third chunks for the year, so 4 months total. The first 2 have already come out, and in August I'll be coming out with my last one for the year, and I've just done all the research for it, so they're fresh in my brain. A couple that were in the previous video that I made that are coming out in August are Vulture by Phoebe Greenwood. This is published by Europa Editions. It's taking on journalistic ethics, which is just a subject matter that I find really interesting and don't often find novels that are tackling it. So I'm really excited to read that. I also really want to get my hands on Whites by Mark Doten. That one I think might be done by, and that is a short story collection that's taking on white culture, and I really want to get to that as well. And then other one that I haven't mentioned before that maybe I'll stick on here is Calls May Be Recorded by Katarina Volkmer. And this one's published by $2 Radio, and it's coming out on September 16th. And here's the little blurb for it. It says, Jimmy works in a London call center, fielding complaints from dissatisfied travelers. Concerns range from whether compulsive itching will attract sharks in Mykonos to the queue at the infinity pools in the Maldives. But today is different. Jimmy's coworker Ellen warns him Jimmy's on the chopping block, and his boss Simon has followed him into the bathroom during an unauthorized break to request an urgent meeting. And honestly, the blurb gets more bizarre from there. But if I go to the end, which kind of talks about the themes and stuff like that, it says, with remarkable dexterity and an acerbic wit, Katarina Volkmer skewers the corporate workplace and water cooler relationships, culminating in an insightful and powerfully moving portrait of loneliness and human connection. Those are buzzwords for me, people. I love books on workplace culture, particularly when they're satirizing it. And I love books that pair loneliness and human connection together and talk about human connection in sort of the like mundane and unexpected ways that it comes. So I'm all in for this book. I'm very excited, amongst many others. So stay on the lookout for that video, which definitely will come out in August. That's when you can trust me on it will come out in August. All right, question number 5 is biggest disappointment. And I have 2 for this. There are probably more, but there are 2 that stand out in my mind. The first one is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. Oh my God, I really had high hopes for this. I don't read a ton of romance, but I do pick it up from time to time. And I am a friends to lovers girly. I love that trope. It's not used very often because enemies to lovers is so popular right now, but I don't really like enemies to lovers. And I thought this could finally be a book for me that is doing a friends to lovers trope, but no, this one was not it. The characters were so unlikable when they weren't supposed to be unlikable. It was so not believable, and just no. It was a no for me, dog. So that's the first one. And then the other one is Living Things by Munir Hachemi, translated by Julia Sanchez. This one's published by Coach House Books, I believe. And honestly, like, Munir Hachemi, don't piss me off. Don't piss me off. Like, this book, why? I really hated this like meta element of the author saying like, don't read into anything that I'm writing in this book. Like, it has no literary merit beyond being just my journal. If you read into anything, that's on you. And I'm like, well, what are we supposed to do then? Like, what are we supposed to do? Like, the journal on itself just sucks. Like, if you don't read into it, it just is not good. So, don't understand. I don't understand that book. The people who love that book, please explain to me who hurt you and why you love that book. Question number 6 is biggest surprise. And I wrote down 4 books for this. I got greedy on this question, apparently. So I have 2 books that were in my best books of the year from my Republic of Consciousness blog. And that is Like a Sky Inside by Yakuta Alikavazovich, translated by Daniel Levin Becker, and To and Fro by Leah Hager Cohen, published by Bellevue Literary Press. These books were such a delight for me in different ways, but it was such a good breath of fresh air after my experience last year with the Republic of Consciousness Prize reading, which was so heavy and torturous and like mentally rigorous. And these 2 books were just lovely and fascinating and thought-provoking and enriching for me. So I absolutely adored both of them. Like a Sky Inside is technically it's nonfiction, even though the Republic of Consciousness is supposed to be a fiction-based prize. Nobody knows what's going on there, but it's about our main character who's going to be staying the night at the Louvre, and it's kind of before, during, and after. But really, you're getting a lot of commentary about her relationship with her father, and you're getting a lot of commentary on art. Such interesting food for thought there. love it. If you like a really thinky book that's going to confront you with some not easily looked at truths, then this book is a good book for you. And then To and Fro was such a magical reading experience. I know I keep using the word magical for it, but really that feels like the accurate word to use. And it's just this tender coming of age that is so childlike, and I really adored it. So both of those definitely major surprise. Major surprise in Sarahland by Sam Cohen. I cannot remember a time when I feel like I have needed to champion a short story collection as hard as this short story collection. This, I think, just shows what story collections can do. They can be just as good as a novel, and this book, I think, does that expertly. It's so cohesive throughout the entire collection in terms of the themes and the symbolism. And this book kind of has a gimmick in that every story contains a Sarah in it. But they're also amazingly written, so inventive, really captivating and propulsive in that like short form format. Not to mention the audiobook might be the best audiobook that I've ever listened to. So that one, so surprising, loved it. And then also Glorious Exploits by Fredia Lennon. This is surprising just for me particularly because I don't consider myself to be a big historical fiction reader, and this is a very popular historical fiction book. And I almost DNF'd this book multiple times. I think that's why it's so surprising. I almost DNF'd it multiple times. I persisted. The book really delivered on an arc that was phenomenal, top tier, and I sobbed my freaking eyes out. So love it for that. So those are the biggest surprises for me this year. Question number 7, we have a favorite new to me author, and I've put 2 down. I put Ben Okri, even though I've only read one book by him, and that was of course this year, Madame Sosostris and the Festival for the Brokenhearted, I believe. That's published by Other Press. But that is another book that's so magical. It's really relying on a lot of Shakespeare elements and Shakespeare Easter eggs. But my God, the writing had this ethereal yet comedic quality, which don't make sense together, but that's exactly what Ben Okri delivered. And I have to read more. I have to read more. I've already picked up one of his other books that I'm going to try and read by the end of the year. So that has really solidified him as someone that I'm very intrigued to read more of. And he has such a big backlist. So really excited for that. And then also Chelsea Beaker. I've read 2 of her books so far this year. I had read her before, but I'd only ever read her as part of other anthologies. I've never read her standalone stuff. So this year I read Mad Woman, which was in my best books of the year. That is a novel. And I've read Heartbroke, which is a short story collection published by Catapult. And that is also fantastic. And I'm going to try and read Godshot, which is her other standalone. It's a novel, her debut novel this year as well. So really hit the trifecta with her. So those are the 2 that I would probably say, although there are many others that I've loved and adored as well. Question number 8 is newest fictional crush. For this one, I'd probably say Patroclus from The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, or I can't remember her name. His like handmaiden, is that what she's called? I'm so sorry if I'm butchering that. Either one of them, I'd take a bullet for them. My God, they're too precious for this world. I feel the need to protect them at all costs. And now we're gonna go into question number 9 while my dog is drinking water in the background. So if you hear that, apologies. And number 9 is newest favorite character. This one should be fairly easy. It has to be Margo from Margo's Got Money Troubles. God, that character is right up my street. I've talked about her enough, but my God, I love her. And then also Amara from the Wolf Den trilogy. She is such a determined character who is so reflective and sometimes brutal character. And when I see her, I'm like, why can't there be more female characters like this? I just want more of them. So those are some of my favorite characters of the year. Question number 10. Oh my God, I've been talking so long. I'm going to try and hurry. I'm going to try and hurry this up. Question number 10. Books that made you cry. Glorious Exploits, I already talked about, made me sob. House with the Golden Door and Temple of Fortuna also made me sob. Those are probably the ones that made me cry the most. But an interesting book to make me cry that I have also already talked about is To and Fro. That book surprisingly made me cry. I wouldn't say it's an overly sad book or anything like that, but I did cry from being kind of struck with earnestness, I would say, is why I cried in that book. Question number 11, book that made you happy. These, similarly, Margo's Got Money Troubles. It's just really funny. And then To and Fro, because it's so childlike and kind of put me in this state of mind that I haven't been in a while. Those two. Question number 12, most beautiful book that you've bought so far this year or received as a gift. I would say A History of Half Birds. This is a poetry collection that I picked up on Independent Bookstore Day. Have to do a shout out for Glorious Exploits by Ferdia Lennon. Like, the person that made that cover came to work that day. My God, it's genius. That marketing is genius. And I will hear no arguments about that. Question number 13, penultimate question. Favorite review. I put in videos. I think the question is favorite review of the year. I put in favorite video of the year as kind of a stand-in because I only do booktube videos. I don't have like a bookstagram where I'm writing reviews or anything like that. So far my favorite videos this year I think have been the Republic of Consciousness blog that I've talked about. And partly that's just because I've enjoyed some of those books so much and they stayed with me. So I really think back fondly on my time reading those books and making that vlog. I'm glad I have kind of a memory, a time capsule of that for myself. And then I'm also really proud of the Now or Never series that I started on my channel this year. This is not new to me by any means. Tons of channels do a series like this. It's a read it or haul it type of series, but it's been really fun for me. I've wanted to start doing more challenge videos, but it's felt harder for me as someone who doesn't read the same volume of books as maybe other content creators, and they just take me much longer to do. So like letting myself be a little bit more free on the channel in terms of the time frame that I spend filming something has been really helpful, and I've really enjoyed getting to do some challenge-like videos because I find that so fun, and I love watching that type of content as well. And then last question, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? And there's a good amount that I want to make sure I get in by the end of the year. At the time that I wrote the books on here, the first one I wrote down was The Pretender by Jo Harkin. This is an arc that I picked up, I think like around Mother's Day, and I just finished this. I just finished this today as I'm filming it, so that is a little tick off of the list. Historical fiction that I was told is a comp to the TV show The Great, which I adore. So excited to put that in my next wrap up whenever I do one. And then I really want to read One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against This by Omar El Akkad. I started this on audio, but very quickly realized it was not going to be a book for me to listen on audio. I need to read it physically because the points are very kind of haberdash-like. They're really tangential and quick. So I need to be able to read it in order to process that for my brain. So I've re-put a hold on it as an ebook so I can read it that way from the library. So I want to read that one. Like I talked about before with my authors I am really enjoying this year and want to read more of. I want to read Godshot by Chelsea Beaker so I can complete all of her books. And then I want to read Astonishing the Gods by Ben Okri, which is the other one of his that I have picked up so far this year. In addition to those, I have a couple videos that I'm currently working on. So I want to get those books read as well. I'm working on my next video in my 2 books, 1 title series, which is a series I love doing. So I've currently read one of them. I need to read the second one. I'm not going to tell you what they are. And then I'm also working on my next mother-in-law vlog. I do one of these a year where I read books that my mother-in-law has very, very graciously sent me. And I've started that vlog as well, so I need to finish that one up. So those are just little teasers for you. All right, friends, this video is way long enough, so I will leave it there. Please let me know if you have read any of these books, and if so, what you thought of them. And do please give me your answers to one or all of these questions if you feel so inclined. Superlatives are such a fun way to think about our reading through, so I would be interested what you all pick for some of these. And we will leave it there, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!